this is April from April's Home, and today I thought I would share with you my recipe for thick as fog split pea soup. I love split pea soup. It's a classic, yummy soup, and it's perfect for this very, very cold weather that we've been having. So I thought that I would share with you my recipe for thick as fog split pea soup. You will need a pound of green split peas, a bag of carrots that I will peel and chop. You can also use frozen crinkle cut carrots if you want to save time. A bunch of celery also chopped, and an onion chopped up, and a package of ham shanks here. If you don't have ham shanks or ham hocks, you can also make this soup with chicken broth. And then at the end, just add a little tiny bit of liquid smoke to give it that sort of smoky flavor that the ham hocks give it. And then also I like to top this soup at the end when it's all cooked, and right before I serve it I love to crumble a little bit of bacon over the top. So I will also cook up and crumble this pack of bacon here. And I'll be serving this soup with fresh sourdough and French bread from our bakery. So I'm going to go ahead and get started chopping up all of the veggies and getting them sauteing on the stove. Okay, so I have the celery all chopped up. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the chopped celery to my pan with a little bit of olive oil and start sauteing the celery while I chop up my onion. Okay, so I have my large onion all chopped up. I've got my celery already sauteing. I give it a little bit of a head start because it takes a little longer to cook celery than onion. And now I'm going to go ahead and add this onion to the celery and continue sauteing those. So here's my chopped celery and onion sauteing in the bottom of the pan. I've taken it off the heat for a second so it didn't steam up the lens. But this is what it looks like right now, and I'll continue sauteing this until the celery and onion are a little softer and a little more translucent. And while they're sauteing, I will go ahead and chop up my carrots. Okay, so now the onions and celery are starting to soften and become translucent, so I'm going to go ahead and add the water and the ham hocks now. Okay, so I've added water to this pan about halfway up the pan. I don't really measure the water, I really just add it to the amount of soup that I want. I often add more water towards the end as it evaporates, and if I need a little bit more. And you can see that I've put the 2 ham hocks in there as well, and now I'm going to go ahead and let this come to a low boil while I chop up the rest of my carrots. Okay, my soup is almost to a boil and I've chopped up all of my carrots. I chopped up a 2-pound bag of carrots. You could use 1 pound or 2 pounds, whatever you like. I really like to add carrots. I like the nutrients that they have, so I like to put that in all of my soup. So now I'm going to go ahead and add this to my soup and then go ahead and add the seasonings to my soup. Okay, so I'm adding my carrots to the soup, and I've given that a stir, and now I'm going to go ahead and add the seasonings. The seasonings I'm using in this soup are a little bit of garlic powder. All of these I add to taste. I just kind of put in a little bit at first, and then I add some in the middle of my cooking, and then I add some again right at the end after I've tasted it. I'm using a little sea salt and ground black pepper, as well as this Italian seasoning here that I always buy at Costco. So I've added the seasonings, and now I'm going to go ahead and let this soup come to a low boil. Then I'll probably turn it down to a simmer and let this go ahead and cook like this for about an hour to give it a head start. The peas don't take too long to cook, and so I don't want to cook them too early, otherwise they'll stick to the bottom of the pan. I'd like to give the ham hocks time to cook, as well as the vegetables time to cook, and create like a really good broth flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and let this cook away for about an hour, and then I'll come back and clean and sort and rinse out my green peas and then add those in, and I'll be back to show you that as soon as this is done cooking for a bit. So my soup has been simmering for about an hour, and now I'm going to go ahead and open up the bag of green split peas. This is a 1-pound bag, and what I like to do with all of my dried peas and beans is check them over, make sure there's no little stones or little odd bits of you know, peas or any other sort of things inside the split peas. You're always supposed to check them over, and then I put them in this little strainer basket here and give them a good rinse, and then I'll add them to the soup. So this is why you sort out the peas. As you can see, I have found a little teeny tiny piece of pebble, and this would definitely not be very good to bite down on in a soup. So you always want to really look closely over and make sure that you remove anything like these little tiny stones or any you know, strange looking peas or anything like that. So I'm glad I spotted that one. It's really tiny, but definitely not something that you would want to bite down on. And I'll continue looking through these a little bit more, and then I'm going to go ahead and rinse them and add them to the soup. So now I'm adding my rinsed and sorted peas into the broth here. And then I'm also going to add a little bit more water to replace some of it that has boiled out. Just kind of eye it and make sure that there's enough in there and give it a good stir. And you'll want to stir it quite a bit more at this point because the peas, once they get cooking, they start to get kind of starchy and could kind of go down to the bottom and stick to the bottom. So I always like to make sure to stir it pretty frequently at this point. I'll bring this back up to a boil, add a little bit more salt, pepper, garlic powder, and Italian seasonings, and I'll give the broth a taste and then let it simmer for about another hour or two, and check on it throughout that time as well, giving it, like I said, giving it a stir every so often to make sure that the peas aren't sticking to the bottom. The soup is cooking away nicely. I'm about to remove the ham shanks. I'm going to give them a little bit longer to cook in there and flavor that soup, and then I'll pull them out and let them cool down so I can pick off some of the meat to add back to the split pea soup. So I'm going to continue to let that cook. And then also I'm starting the bacon here. I've got the bacon the way that I always cook it. I put it on a little baking tray, like a rimmed baking tray, lined with foil on a cooling rack. That way all the fat drips down, and I bake it in the oven at 350 to 375, depending on how fast I want to cook it. And I kind of keep my eye on it to see when it's done. And as it cooks, I also kind of separate them as it shrinks down. I pull apart the bacon so that they're all nice and crispy and cooked, and then I'll crumble these up to put on top of our soup. So this is what the soup looks like when it's nearly done. It's cooked down a bit so it's nice and thick. There are quite a few carrots in this. You don't have to have that many carrots. I just really love the flavor of that. Sometimes if the carrots are too big or the celery's too big, I like to take a potato masher and kind of mash it down a bit. But tonight I think the soup will do just fine. I've already taken out the ham hocks and removed all the meat from them and then put them back in. Into the soup, and so I'll go ahead and let the bacon finish cooking up and then go ahead and serve bowls of our soup along with some French bread and sourdough bread. So here I have a bowl of our thick as fog split pea soup served up with a couple of slices of bread. One is French bread and one is sourdough. And now I'll take a slice of bacon and I'm going to go ahead and crumble it up over the top of this soup. And here's what the soup looks like with the bacon added to the top, which just adds a really nice salty, extra tasty little element to the soup. You don't have to put the bacon on, but it does add a really nice flavor to it. This thick as fog split pea soup is definitely a wonderful soup to serve on a cold wintry day. So now I'm going to go ahead and serve up our family some soup and bread for dinner, and we will watch a nice show together and enjoy a nice wintry evening. I hope you enjoyed checking out this thick as fog split pea soup recipe. I will also leave a link in the description box below for the recipe that I've written out on my blog. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe for more videos from April's Home. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.